Hello, hockey world. Today is Monday, April 22nd, 2024.
I'm Jan Levine.
Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Lagello, and this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Eklund will be joining us momentarily. We're going to deviate from the pre-show and do maybe a little post-show because we want to talk. There's a few non-hockey things we want to talk about. We have Jan for some limited time, and we wanted to get right into the analysis of some of the series. And Jan, I'll start with the Rangers Washington because as much as I thought it was the Rangers were going to dominate, and I understand why you were superstitious when we were making our predictions on Friday, they did not let me down in one aspect whatsoever. I thought they dominated game one against the Capitals. I think the Capitals, I know a few people are basically saying the Capitals looked like they won their Stanley Cup, which was to get into the playoffs. Ovechkin didn't have a shot on goal. Shesterkin was great. And Charlie Lindgren was Charlie Lindgren. So, I mean, I'm not saying they should not try, but I think they're the better team, and I think they're going to win this series going away. But what were your impressions on game one?
So, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it superstitious. I call it realistic because, again, right, just because you have a big gap doesn't mean that necessarily you're guaranteed to win anything. And caveat all this, it's one game, right? You've gotten 1 out of 4. You've held serve at home, which you should hold serve. And performance-wise, look, Peter Laviolette did a nice job of matching up lines, which is something we expected, right? They did a nice job in terms of a defense matching guys up. I thought Braden Schneider and Condre Miller were both really very good. They actually protected Gustafsson and Trouba and deployed them a lot in the offensive zone, which I thought was a smart strategy. He had the Wenberg line matched up against Ovechkin, which I thought was a very good strategy. Look, the early call on Rempe was a garbage call, in my opinion. I thought the officials were targeting him, which, I mean, part of it, I think at that point in time, a lot of us were going, well, if they're going to call it like this, they're not going to be able to dress him because if every time he's going to be out and something happens, he's going to get a penalty, you're going to have to rein him in. The first period was pretty much a non-event. It was boring. I mean, very boring, actually. And the Rangers turned it up. I mean, it was a great first goal was a good 200-foot goal, right? They went from D to O. Rempe through the neutral zone, got it to VC on the wing. Nice play, a little backdoor and the goal. And, of course, the Garden erupted when he scored. The Panarin goal was a great forecheck before even Lafreniere's check, right? They had a good forecheck for about 20, 30 seconds in the zone. It was a clean hit on Iorio.
Yeah.
It was a clean hit on Iorio. It was a shoulder-to-shoulder check. Nothing dirty on it. I know some people were saying that they thought that the hit was a little questionable. Clean check, shoulder-to-shoulder by Lafreniere on Iorio. Turnover, Trocheck to Panarin. Interesting, the fact that he went wide side to the glove side, Panarin, because I know a lot of it, we've talked a lot about, a lot of it was remembering that he is a right-handed glove catcher was one of the things I thought that the Rangers didn't take advantage of in the first period, right? And then
Jan, I heard more criticism of the Rempe contact on, was it Ferravari that on?
Yeah. No, it was on Beckman. It was on
Mallinson.
It was on Matt. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So it was more so that he came across to kind of get in front of Rempe, and that's where the contact arose. It wasn't like Rempe raised the elbow. It was a good face-off win. He was coming out to try to Malmstrom to come out and kind of cut down the angle, and he ran into Rempe, which gave him a chance. And then Carlson was a little off balance. The puck deflected off Carlson over Lindgren over the shoulder. I mean, the one goal they did score, which was by February, which was on a good forecheck by Washington. I thought Zibanejad was a bit late getting to the front of the net. He was a little late in terms of marking him leaving the corner. But Washington really didn't do much at all. I mean, the Rangers did a nice job, especially on the penalty kill, right? 0 for 4 Washington, 9:48 in power play time. Didn't really give him anything in terms of the power play. And then you had Kreider on the breakaway, which was a good defensive play also. Roslovic to Zibanejad, hit Kreider in stride, and he beat him to the short side. So from an overall perspective, nothing dangerous. You knew Wilson was going to try to stir something up late, which he did. If you watch the replay, he got Igor on the back with his stick after he made a save, which is why Schneider had the contact with him. I wrote last night, I understand why he put Matt Rempe back on Laviolette at the end of the game. The only thing I didn't love was the fact that he kind of finished his check late, which I thought was a little late of a check, Rempe, in the last minute. He probably could have held back. No reason to poke the bear, no reason to get a penalty, no reason to do anything. But look, Washington on paper, the Rangers should win this series, right? But again, we've seen before, just because on paper you should win it doesn't mean execution-wise. They did a good job of not basically trying to get out of their system, was my opinion, right? On the post game, the Rangers post game, they called it tidy, was the word I think Lundqvist used, and the word that Valaket used was mature, right? They didn't fall prey to trying to play a wide open style, which then leaves you open to counterattack. They took advantage of the talent that they had. They got 4 goals, 3 of them at 5-on-5, which was great. And that was it, right? I mean, that was a good job by the team. Good job of taking advantage of the offensive opportunities that presented itself. And now Washington basically has to chase them in order to be able to try to create offense.
Yeah, Russ, the term I would use is methodical. It was an adult. It was a physical. It was a just really just steady performance against a team. They are better than the Caps, but Jan is right. Just because you're the better team doesn't mean you're going to win the series. You have to do what better teams do, which is dominate. And I think after sort of feeling out in the first period, I think they did. The one thing I would say about game 2 is this is tailor-made for Tom Wilson to go and take a run at somebody or try to do something to spark his team. So that would be something.
It's not going to matter. Like McElrath tried to do with Rempe, and Rempe's on orders not to fight. And now, of course, Capitals fans are like, oh, look, McElrath tuned up Rempe, and now he's running away. I mean, I don't think Rempe cares if they win. And I think that's all that matters. McElrath knows his role, and he's only up there because of injury. So whatever. Like they are going to try that. It's not going to work. I think the other big things is that Shesterkin kept his 2 goals or less streak going, which again didn't seem to matter no matter how his regular season was, and he finished strong. But it's just that was overblown. And Kreider did a great job of covering Ovechkin. Ovechkin really does look fat at this point and slow, like he is. If you look at him, he's got a gut. He can't put in Mike. It's just the truth. Like
I know, but he's still going to beat Gretzky's record. He had 31 goals.
That's right. You can keep that has nothing to do with what's going on the ice.
No, it has nothing to do with the playoff.
But I'm just saying, his team to even getting a goal in a game, they're not even going to win a game.
Right.
That's my point.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the record.
Let's hold off on that talk. I mean, I know everybody wants to basically call this series done. We've seen way too many series where they're not done.
No, I understand the hesitancy after last year when they dominated the first 2 games against New Jersey and then lost the series. But the thing is that Washington doesn't have the weapons that New Jersey.
No, I have more to say about
on
this.
paper, they should win. There's no question.
Listen, you could have whatever beliefs you want. That's fine. All I'm saying is if Ovechkin's a non-factor and Oshie's as beat up as he is, which he is, and he's probably soon to retire,
right?
They are lacking weapons. Like, Sonny Milano can only do so much for them, and all the Rangers have to do is play a smart game. So if you don't like the fact that I say that it could possibly be a sweep, tough, because there is that chance. That's all I'm saying.
Now,
no, I'm not disagreeing with you, right? I mean, look, no Rasmus Sandin and no Nick Jensen has a big impact on their defense. There's no question, right? Both of them were non-contact jerseys today. They're likely not playing tomorrow. My view is because of the 2 days off between games 2 and 3, you'll probably see them when it goes down to Washington. It's probably the first chance you'll have to see them, and that makes a difference. That helps them defensively. Offensively, as you said, they are challenged right now. But the big thing that they said post All-Star break, Washington actually I think had the best power play in the NHL at about 29.8% after the All-Star game. The Rangers have did a very good job yesterday. And in general, overall, they finished 3rd in the league with an 86.4% penalty kill, which was huge, right? That's where Washington is going to look to generate offense. 5-on-5, they don't really have the speed to the neutral zone unless the Rangers make an error, which is what happened on the 1 goal last night.
Right,
but they're going to try to make it up on the power play, which is why Rempe has to continue to be smart and not take the bait, right? Don't fall prey to them trying to goad him into something in order to give them a jump start. That's all.
Now, I'll as Ak joins the show, I just want to say this. I was well rested on Saturday night to watch, and we'll talk about the debacle at TD Garden.
What does that mean? You took a nap? Is that what that means?
No. I was well rested because Carolina and the Islanders were the first game. Slept through that snooze fest. what a friggin' bore that series is. And as I said, and it lived down to the expectation. I mean, because Carolina is the better team. The Islanders can't score. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Right.
Same goddamn thing that happens all the time. The Islanders cannot score, and they cannot score when it counts. Gee. Okay, now you can take over.
Well, like I said,
how many goals did Toronto score on the other night?
I'm talking Toronto. Toronto's got their own problems.
How many goals did Toronto score?
Got their own
Last time I
problems.
checked, they got the same number as the Islanders. Just stop already.
Look,
the Islanders right now.
I did talk about Palmieri did have that diving play where if he'd have scored that goal, might not even be saying that.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually played Carolina, in my opinion, that good stretches of that game.
They
actually outplayed them 5-on-5 a lot of that game, in my opinion.
And Varlamov's in goal. I mean, remember that. I mean, he's
at least for another game he is. We don't know if he's going to play the whole series.
At least another game, And to me, it's like they really, it's kind of like Rocky, fighting right-handed.
Yeah.
If they put, when they put the other. Excuse me.
Doing that.
All right, 1 second. I got to take care of his dog. 1 second.
But again, I mean, look, I thought that the Islanders actually outplayed them portions of that game. Carolina got a somewhat fluky goal to make it 2-1. As you said, Palmieri had a shot. He just unfortunately didn't put in that. And again, they are offensively challenged. There's no question. Carolina is a better team. But let's not make believe the Islanders weren't in that game throughout that entire game. And if they have to play the game like that to win, then they're going to. That's just their style of play.
Right.
Carolina is really good, and they obviously have so much more going for them than the Islanders do. But the Islanders fought them. I mean, that's what they're going to do. I mean, they're not. Carolina's a favorite for a reason in the series.
As opposed to Toronto, who
just can't. You know what the problem is, Zach? They do play very similar styles, and because Carolina bulked up on offense. The Islanders do have to kind of change up what they're doing a little bit because you're not going to beat Carolina at their own game. That's the problem.
Yeah, and they are very similar. You're right about that. I mean, and to me, the biggest difference is in goal. And I think the Islanders have a clear advantage there. If the Islanders
Toronto really turned up their offense until the third period the other night.
We're not talking about the Leafs. We're talking about that.
But you're basically comparing the Islanders did nothing.
I'm not comparing them at all.
You can't use that mantra when the team you root for did nothing either.
I'm not comparing them at all. I'm not comparing them at all. I'm saying the Islanders have been boring all friggin' year.
Meanwhile, the Oilers play tonight.
Yeah, no, okay. So
I was light in the mood. I was light in the mood with a change subject.
Jan's only got a few minutes, so I wanted to
continue. Sorry,
I wanted to get his input on the thing we talked about on Friday, which was Georgiev, and because Georgiev because he played for the Rangers. We talked about it on Friday about how it sounded like they could go to Annunen, but Annunen apparently is ill, so they couldn't. And 7 spot by the Jets.
They have no confidence in him. He has no confidence in their D. I said to you Friday that Annunen was going to be the guy. I said that right off the bat. He's been horrible the last 2-3 months, right? The offense has carried him. Look, I mean, they can't be ecstatic either right now. Winnipeg giving up 6 goals either.
No, he gave up 6 goals.
That was fire wagon hockey. What's that?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Everybody wants to focus on Georgiev giving up 7, and Hellebuck gave up 6, and he's not supposed to give up more than 2. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Is this
Ilya came late with the empty net when it was 6-on-5, right? So you have to discount that a little bit, but still not a great performance. And look, if Colorado better hope that Annunen is healthy for game 2, because I don't know after what you saw in game 1, you can go back to Georgiev.
I think they are going back to Georgiev. You got to remember, this is a lot like Kemper. Kemper was never a good goalie either, and he won a Stanley Cup.
They never lost confidence in him, Russ. I think they've lost confidence.
No, they did. And
is this Ilya Bryzgalov versus Marc-Andre Fleury 2.0?
No, it's not. It's just it's a goalie that has to kind of get it back because he played a lot of games. But I got to tell you, in the second period, Georgiev made some really big saves, or it would have been worse than that. It's not like he didn't make any good saves in the game. He's definitely off his game. But you know what? I don't think they're going to change the goalie. I don't.
Colorado's going to play defense, so they're not going anywhere. I mean, that's the thing.
Right. That's what I think Bednar is going to end up saying. That's
the big point of that game in my mind. It's like Yuriev is good enough. He's every bit as good as Kemper was. He's good enough to get you there. You just have
Right.
they have to
I
play.
think he's burned. I think he's burned out. I really do.
Well,
I mean, based on what his stats were in March and April, and now giving up a 7 spot in game 1. I mean, the comments of Bednar, Jan, and the comments on some of the players were not exactly supportive of Georgiev.
No. That's why I said I think they've lost confidence in him now. They may have no choice to go to him if Noonan is not healthy enough to go, which honestly you would kind of think that you would maybe want to prop the guy up a little bit if you know the guy who's his backup is ill and may not play. But
They're trying to
they
fire
clearly
him up,
didn't have
Jan.
any problems throwing him under the bus after that game.
No, because that's the whole idea. They're trying to fire him up. They're trying to get Georgiev to find another level here after playing like 60-something games. That's what they're trying to do.
Right, which is on them for overburdening him, right? I mean,
Right, of course.
Yeah, and is he the kind of goalie that really reacts to that sort of thing? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Look, I can't tell you he will, but I can't tell you it's a bad idea. I mean, all I'm saying is this: Hellebuck wasn't supposed to give up more than 2 goals in any game of the in the playoffs, and he gave up 6.
yeah.
So there's room to leave Georgiev in if Hellebuck's giving up 5 or 6 goals a game too.
I don't think Colorado took Winnipeg seriously going into that game, to be honest. That's what it felt like to me. I don't know.
Right? I mean, it's hard to believe that they wouldn't, only because they had been really good down the stretch. But look, Winnipeg's a Jekyll and Hyde team too. I still believe that, and I saw that in that game. I mean,
there's reasons that you wouldn't take Winnipeg seriously in some situations. I mean,
I think they take them seriously. If they don't take them seriously, they're stupid, because they've got the better of the 2 goaltenders. Their forwards are pretty good. I think Colorado's defense is better. I mean, I picked Colorado in 7 games. That doesn't mean that this is going to be, every game is going to be like this. But you don't take Winnipeg seriously, you're gonna. It's at your own peril.
No, I think that's what you saw in that game. I mean, I think that's why you saw it go the way it went. I mean, personally, that's what it felt like to me.
Although Casey Middlestat scored, Mike, so that was good for Colorado, because
I'm sure. Well, Russ, because I just wrote about this. 5 ex-Sabres scored in game 1s this year. 5. Now, there are a lot of ex-Sabres, but still 5 goals. Jimmy Beasley, Sam Reinhart,
there, Mike. Is that poor asset management there, Mike? Is that poor asset management in Buffalo?
Well, I mean, BC's not. Some of it is. BC's not.
Reinhart, O'Reilly, VC, Middlestat, and
I don't consider VC really a Sabre, though. I mean, it was.
He played twice for them.
Yeah, but
I'm kind of with Jan on that one.
Yeah, but
you're right, Mac. I think Bednar wanted to light a fire under Georgiev, and I think he also wants his defense to play better. If they play marginally better, they'll win the series.
You got to figure Hellebuck's going to play better, also, Russ. Right? I mean, you would kind of be shocked if he plays like this again also.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing about Hellebuck. As much as I really like him as a goalie, and I like him a lot, he's had these kinds of off games before.
Yeah.
Just when you don't expect him to. And it's inexplicable. Like I can never explain it.
He had a stretch during the season this year. We had several games like that. I mean, even he was rolling, all of a sudden he kind of hit a wall or something happened. He had 4, 5, 6 games in a row where he struggled, and then he righted the ship again and was dominant. So
yeah. No, that's always been him, and you just have to hope that he's hot when at the right time. I mean, honestly, that's been his game. That's why you guys know I'm not the biggest Hellebuck fan, but he had a Vezina year, so it's like it's hard to sit back and he's going to have to be that goalie if Winnipeg's going to go anywhere.
But Eck, I'll tell you, and I'll say it very clearly: the best goalie in these playoffs is Bob. Bob is the best goalie right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Honestly, in that game, Bob, that was pretty crazy. I mean, he's at
the top of his game right now.
Oh yeah, I mean those last couple minutes, Tampa. I mean that save he made on the Stamkos one-timer was ridiculous. I mean, I don't think there's another goalie in the league that makes that save, honestly.
Yeah, but I picked Tampa in the upset in this series, and I mean obviously Florida, they're loaded, their defense is loaded. Bob is playing really well, but you could see the seeds of a potential Tampa upset victory, and it wouldn't be that much of an upset because
Tampa and Florida has reached that Montreal-Toronto point where it really doesn't matter who's better than the other. Like they have either one can beat either team anytime. They really have reached that level. Like Tampa has won. I don't think the Panthers have beaten Tampa in a playoff series, right?
Not yet. Not until this year.
Tampa's won Stanley Cups Florida has always been the lesser, of the.
He said
of the
confidently. Yeah, no, but the thing is, it's like, I mean, I think the one thing, and Russ, you said this on Friday, Tampa, I mean, they're nowhere even close to being as deep as
They're not.
were.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You had Braden Point and Brandon Hagel playing 22, 23 minutes. That you can't do. I mean,
they're going to get tired against this Florida team. They are.
No, yeah. The longer the series goes.
Right. So I mean,
back into Florida.
This series would definitely benefit Tampa, but they didn't win the first one. And now, yeah, I feel like they're in a little bit of trouble because if they go down 0-2, it could be even shorter than we thought too.
I mean, Vasilevsky was also really good in that game, though. I mean,
yeah, no, he was. But what I was saying is, when you look at Tampa's lineup and you're playing Michael Esenwa and you're playing Mitchell Chafee, and Tyler Mott, and Tyler Mott was on the fourth line, so that's fine. But I mean, you're playing Hedman 25 minutes. You didn't have to do that when you had McDonough and you had Cernak and Cernak. You did sometimes, but because he's one of the best defensemen in the NHL. But right now, they're just loading on the minutes on those key guys because they have no other option.
Well, one of the big things, and I'm going to get the number, Tampa's missed shots were out of control. They missed a ton.
Yeah, they really do. And part of that is just is that that when you're playing against a good goalie, the aiming thing. Like I think that they're aiming on Bobrovsky. Really, the way to beat Bobrovsky is to fire and fire and fire and fire and fire away. Like there's no secret. Like you can't try to pinpoint pick a spot. Like I mean, Stamkos on that goal that made it 3-2. That was an unbelievable pinpoint accuracy shot.
Oh yeah.
That was just from that angle, from that point.
Now,
can do that.
I don't say this with any kind of wishful thinking because I don't think he's going to go where a lot of people hope he would go. But I just get the feel every time I watch Stamkos that this is the last series he's playing in a Tampa uniform.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I mean he's playing throttle wide open in fifth gear because I think he wants to go out. This is going to be my last song, my encore, and I'm showing that maybe showing prospective teams out there, hey, I still got it, and he does.
And by the way, for a forward, Reinhardt had the most shifts at 27. I mean, he really is having his best year too.
Oh boy,
Mark Howard is a crazy combination. I mean, the two of them.
I'll tell you, Bill Zito, who freshly just got himself a new contract, he's going to have to break out the checkbook and sign Reinhardt. I mean, in a contract year, you score career high 57 goals. Don't tell me about motivation in the walk year of contracts because he's had a great year. He's not a 57 goal. He is a 57 goal scorer, but he's not a 57 goal scorer.
But he's been improving every year. So I think the reality is he's been getting better and better. And the reality is, that he and Barkov just have something. Like they have that. There's a, that what happened with him is that they found the chemistry guy for him. They have chemistry, an incredible amount of chemistry there.
And I mean, he may have played his way out of the Florida market unless he's willing to take. He can't get more than Tkachuk.
No. Tampa, by the way, Tampa missed 23 shots.
Yeah.
So, I don't think he's played his way out of the market though.
Well, if they pay him, sure, but I mean, they're paying.
I think that they will pay him because he is that.
They have no choice.
He's that. I mean, he's that important to them, and he's
Cap's going up, so they'll take that cap money,
right?
Add another $5 million to it, and they'll pay him.
I mean, the reality is Zito's made some smart moves to give him the money to be able to do that with Reinhardt.
They have to sign Montour. They already signed Forsling. They have to sign Montour. And I think one of the other defensemen, and I think Ekblad's got a year left in his contract.
Yeah.
Maybe they trade Ekblad. Maybe they do.
I don't think they're going to do that. He played 26 shifts in that game.
I mean, he's very important to them. But of all the guys, if you had to ask me right now, like who I think is long term future more important than Montour or Ekblad, I would go with Montour.
Oh yeah,
but
and that's nothing against Ekblad. It's just that they play. He does play a bigger role than
he still had 25 assists after missing the first 6 weeks with I think it was shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
He started really slow too.
But
so
Ekblad had more shifts in that game.
Ekblad's. I mean, he's a monster out there. I mean, he's big and he can play tons of minutes. There's no question that they want to keep them both, but I think they'll be able to. I mean, they have that tax thing, and they also have really
Oh,
tight.
they're going to be fine because they got 1 million UFAs. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 UFAs.
Yeah,
and they can pick the ones they want to keep.
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah, they'll be fine.
now
and that locker room is incredibly close too, and it's a situation where you can see them saying, "Hey, we got good taxes around here." I can see guys taking a little bit less to stay.
well, yeah, I'm just saying. I think they're paying Barkov $10 million. They're paying Kachuk $9.5.
Yeah,
I don't think he can make more than Barkov or more than Kachuk, and he probably is going to someplace else. He might get that. It may
yeah.
now
He'll probably be close to it though. He'll probably be close to them. I mean,
now,
you know who else has probably impressed me in that game, and it didn't play very much, and is Tarasenko was a great little pickup for them. It's like he's not going to be like he's not incredible in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing about his game.
Kuznetsov.
What was that?
He's not Kuznetsov.
He's not Kuznetsov, but he is very good at doing smart little plays. Like when they're holding the lead, he's good at getting it over the center line and getting it in, dumping it down. He's good at little things like that he does really well and smart. Like he's not trying to.
He doesn't hurt you out there, but you do need him to score.
Yeah, but he's not. But Russ, he's not in a top 6 role, so
You don't really need him to score. I mean, I don't think you do.
He's on the third line.
He's
He's on the third line in the second power play there. You'd like him to score,
right? Because they're a 2-line team. That's the problem,
right? And they're looking. They're looking just like Tampa would do Claire. They're looking for Tarasenko to score the odd goal and to provide something that he's secondary offense. He's not like he was with the Rangers where he was in.
They're
top.
a 2.5-line team, but yeah, they still need him to score. I think.
Right, occasionally, yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a monster. I mean, he doesn't have.
No, he doesn't have to be a monster like he used to be.
Yeah, and he does so much smart defensively too. He's a really good 2-way player, like a surprisingly good 2-way player. And I think that's the thing that people that Florida looked at when they got him is he's not going to hurt them at all. He's not going to ever hurt them.
Now let's get to the gift that keeps on giving, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because, I just love the fact that they sort of played out. They flipped the script, and wait a second, they didn't.
Well,
honestly, it's like I
did pick them to win the series, Mike.
Of course you did, which guarantees Boston winning the series.
You've been nothing but bad luck for Leafs Nation. Let's face it.
I know. I tried so hard. This is the funny thing about this. I had this discussion with my wife because I did my picks, which are on my blog, and I can get them real quickly here too because I was out with family stuff when you guys are doing the picks. But she said, well, you got to pick Toronto, right? Because that's your biggest market. I'm like, no, it's the opposite. I said, Toronto fans don't want me to pick them at all. I said, they know that if I pick them, they're going to
just pick the team that is the better of the two teams.
And that's what I'm doing by picking them Toronto.
Come on. Oh my God.
I really thought I was.
I did a point by point breakdown of the two teams before the series started, and the only place where the Leafs had an advantage was at center with Coyle and Zacha as the top two, and Tavares and Matthews.
Yeah, that's a slight advantage, Mike.
Well, no, I mean the way that
Tavares
did nothing. Coyle was all over Matthews during that game. Nylander was not there. Marner was a no-show. I mean, the Leafs, they tried to out-Bruin the Bruins in the first 10 minutes of the first period. They tried to get physical. Domi was trying to goad Marchand into stuff. It doesn't work. You're not that team. Play to your strengths. And what they did was they fell right into the trap. They put that bum out there, Ryan Reeves, and he played like a bum in game 1 because what did he do? He tried to make a check. He took himself out of position. They scored a goal.
He got an assist, Mike.
Yeah, when they're down 4-0, Russ, and it was a meaningless goal because they were already out of the game.
You're a terrible person, Russ.
No. He said the same thing. So he's not even original. He said the same thing.
Oh, not even original. Sorry, I'll give you something original in a minute.
You got an assist. No, I actually the big predominant thing over the Buffalo over that series over Boston and Toronto is that Boston isn't afraid to lose. Like the Toronto is just afraid to lose, and it's just obvious when you watch these teams play each other.
They spoke to Pasternak, right?
Yeah,
and they spoke to him pregame on the ice, and they were like, well, the Leafs haven't beaten you since like 1959. What do you have to say about that? And he's like, it's a new series. Like everything's a clean slate. There's no worry there. They had no worry.
Right. Boston's not worried, and Toronto is. I mean, and they rightfully should be.
They should be. And
they should, but this is where I really starting to question Sheldon Keefe. Like that, if he cannot,
he's the only one you can question at this point because the players aren't coming through. But he's going to take the fall.
He's going to take the fall. There's no doubt he's going to take the fall. But this is the thing that and Russ, you said it off the post, and Ek, you just said it. Okay. When your team is not as good as the other team, how can you blame the coach? That's the problem. You've got Ilya Samsonov.
That's right. Your team is good, but your team is as good as the other team.
No, he's not. No, that's not. It
is.
When all of a sudden in the last 3 games you have beach ball Ilya back, who can't stop anything. He's given up 15 goals in 5 games. Now, like I'm telling you, they're going to start him tonight. If they lose and he's bad, he's never going to play in a blue and white uniform ever again. They'll put Joseph Wall.
It doesn't matter. He'll be like the 7th. They'll get another goalie, and they'll be like the 7th goalie in the last 7 years.
But the point is, Russ, is that it's nice to have options when you're Boston because you're playing behind a team that plays structured defense. If they go to Swayman, he made 34 saves. Or if they go to Allmark, you want a Vezina trophy. Yeah, we can do anything we want. Yeah, it's nice when you have goaltending.
They have a huge advantage in goal. There's no two ways about that.
They produced Swayman, and maybe the Leafs produced Wall, but we'll see. Like
I think Wall is definitely the way they should have gone. I don't know.
Well, he didn't play enough.
He was coming off a high ankle sprain. He hasn't played well since he came back from it. But my point here is that Boston. I was just writing my column for today. Boston slipped into that series like a comfortable pair of old slippers. It was just like it was no problem, eased right into it. They weren't taking the bait with the Leafs. They got the first goal on the first shot. They scored 2 power play goals when their power play had gone like 2 for 41. It's like everything. It's like playing the Maple Leafs in the playoffs is like going to Lourdes. It's like drenching yourself in holy waters. Everything is forgiven, folks. It's all over.
I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. I don't know what that means, but let me ask you this, Mike. In your column, did you? Thank you. And to everybody out there, happy Passover. Did you happen to say that the Leafs desperately miss William Nylander?
Well, when he's the second leading scorer on the team, of course they do. But, and supposedly he's a playoff performer.
Compared to the other guys, he is.
Well,
yeah, he has been.
I mean, okay, yeah. Okay. Here's the statistic that is wonderful, and Chris Johnston from TSN and The Athletic mentioned this today. 8 straight playoff games. 8. The last 2 against Tampa, the 5 against Florida, and Saturday night. 2 goals or less from a team that was second in the NHL in goals, which means regular season's 1 bailiwick and the playoffs are another. And when this team, it's the middle of April, this team does not show up.
And you
not blame the coach at all in that situation, Mike.
No, but I got to tell you, if they made me coach for a day, like all of a sudden the Leafs got desperate and they said we're gonna hire someone as a coach for the day, I would break up all the lines. I would make it totally different because Boston's used to this. They know these guys. They know how they're going to play. You've got to have some sort of different combination there, a different look, and something that might shake them up because being tough isn't going to do it.
Russ, the funny thing is they did that. They have Matthews playing with Bertuzzi and Domi and not with Marner. They have Marner on the second line. They were going to put Nylander on the third line. So they spread out their offense to do that. But then Nylander.
You see, I would put Matthews with Nyes. I feel like Nyes would do a better job with Matthews.
But the Bertuzzi,
I would definitely keep Matthews and Marner together in every situation.
I wouldn't. Marner, you know what? I would be like John Tortorella. I would drop Marner to the third line and make him work himself back up because he looked terrible. He didn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. The status right now is they don't know whether Nylander is going to play. So it sounds like a little playoff chicanery. I don't think he's going to play. Nobody seems to know what's wrong with him. It's everything from back spasms to neck to hamstring to whatever.
Yeah, look, I'm sure if he could play, he would.
Yeah, I'm not disputing. I mean, the guy hadn't missed a game due to injury. I think it was 8 years. I heard somebody say.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. The Bruins, it doesn't like, okay, they plug in Danton Heinen, they plug in Patrick Maroon, they plug in all these guys, they get Andrew Peak. They all fit into this mosaic of the Bruins, and it just works.
Yeah, but I will say this. Here's another thing, though. They also have a coach that keeps them loose. Montgomery keeps those guys loose. Yeah. Sheldon Keefe does not keep the Leafs loose. He does not deflect the pressure ever. Like, he doesn't really do anything to take the pressure off the guys. Montgomery does. Montgomery does a very good job. He talks a lot. He'll have long press conferences.
Yeah.
He'll say a lot in between periods to the person that questions. Like, Keith is tight compared to Montgomery.
Well, Russ,
right.
Russ, it is impossible in Toronto to take the pressure off. The pressure is always on.
Quinn used to.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's impossible.
I know, but I'm just saying. I remember that he could.
I
remember going. I'm just going to say this: when the Leafs were playing the Flyers in the playoffs, I remember going to a Pat Quinn press conference, and that was one of the most entertaining press conferences. Right? Sure. Like, you may have been there too.
It's a different era, and it's a different media. I mean, it's really suffocating, and like, you know, I mean, Mitch Marner says one thing wrong in a media availability, and all of a sudden he's like persona non grata, and that's the issue here. I mean, they will constantly be under pressure. The problem is that they can't deal with the pressure. Now, you have to be able to in Toronto to win. I'm not saying Boston is easy peasy, but you know, they've won a Stanley Cup. They've had players that have dealt with this. They've been to Stanley Cup finals after they won in 2011.
Well, that's true, but you know, the coach is the one who has to get rid of that pressure. He's got to be the one who's got to teach that team to not feel that pressure. He's got to find another way. He just has to. I mean, and I'm not saying it's an easy task, but somebody should be able to do it. I mean,
I think we all know if they lose this series, I mean, this is the chatter in Toronto right now. If they lose this series, and okay, it's one game, they could very easily turn it around in game 2. Am I expecting it? No. If they lose this series, Sheldon Keefe is going to be fired, and there's a lot of talk with the new head of MLS and Keith Pelly, that Brendan Shanahan may be out of a job after 10 years.
Yeah, and get Carlton out of there too. Clean sweep.
Yes, they should clean sweep, but I agree with that, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. Take Gritty and no, never mind.
Nobody had expectations for Gritty. Carlton's just been sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah. Carlton is a very nice bear.
Right. He's not a winner.
No, he's not. Unfortunately, there's a lot of not winners that are right there right now, and they got to get past that. They got to figure out a way past that.
That's the problem. It is about the players. I get it, and that's why it's really more Shanahan's fault than anybody at this point, because he oversaw the whole thing and never really interjected enough that we could tell to put his stamp on the team. He let Dubas do whatever he wanted to do.
Right.
That was his guy. And then now this year, it's kind of like, all right, there's new GM. He seems like he's been way too hands off, and that's a problem.
And here's the narrative act that it's like a been there, done that type of Groundhog Day type of scenario. Just like when we were back in the day with Hockey Buzz, and we were talking about the Muskoka 5 and the no trade guys and Sundin and Tucker and okay. So now next year, say they lose in the first round of Boston. Oh, I want to trade Tavares. He's got a no move clause. He's not going anywhere. Oh, I want to trade Mitch. Let's trade Mitch Marner. Can't. He's got a no move clause. He's not going anywhere. Nylander, no move clause. You're not going to trade Matthews because he's one of the best players in the league. So you cannot move any of these guys.
No, but here's what you can do.
You could buy out Tavares, but the problem is
they won't do that either.
His contract is all signing bonus.
That's not the issue. You know what the issue is? You got to sign a Mark Messier type player in that league, have him go into that locker room And even if he has to look John Tavares in the eyes and say, you could do better. You better dig deeper. They need someone with that kind of gravitas to go in there.
Who is that? Steven Stamkos?
Maybe.
It could be.
Stamkos.
But the problem is they can't afford him with the cap that they're.
Well, maybe he'll go for less there. Maybe Canadian Tire will do it under the table this time. I don't know. But the point is, they're going to need somebody that can command the room a little bit besides Tavares to point out to these guys that this isn't going to be good anymore.
Patrick Kane,
maybe. But the problem with Kane is I don't think his play on the ice is good enough to hold up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that
Stamkos might be the guy.
I think Stamkos is a really good one.
It is.
Honestly, he's from Toronto. He knows what that area's about.
Well, the only thing, the motivation there is if he has gotten screwed over by Tampa, which it sounds like he has, the place he could go to screw them. I mean, in their own division, it's either Boston or Montreal or Toronto. I mean, it's somebody in there, or maybe Detroit, or somebody in their division.
Maybe Detroit.
Who they play 4 times. It's that if you want to get back at them, which I think there's a motivation there if they don't sign him. It sounds like that they're just I mean, they're showing him the door like they showed Killorn and Palat the door in their early 30s, and I think that's a shitty thing to do. But
even if they had a fiery goalie like a Lundqvist type, that might do it. They need something like that, some sort of fire.
They need like a Chris Pronger. You know what I mean? Like a Chris Pronger would go in there and
Chris Pronger would not take any.
I mean,
they need somebody who's like above the media and the media's afraid of. Like somebody the media, the media was afraid of Pronger, and that was what the interesting thing was. Like people aren't going to question Pronger,
right?
And, I thought Matthews would be that way, but he's not.
I'm all for that, but I don't know who that guy is.
I don't either.
Yeah.
That's why I thought Stamkos was a good idea.
Yeah.
But goaltending wise, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure who that might be, but it's just they're going to need somebody else to come in with a different kind of viewpoint to help carry these guys through because they can't do it on their own.
Can I just say this about the NHL and their scheduling? I mean, the fact that you've got series that started on Saturday and then you got 2 series starting on Monday night is patently absurd. I mean, I know the reason why, because they didn't know LA and Vegas didn't know who they were going to play until the last day of the season. But still, I mean, you should have been able to. I mean, the other thing is the season ends on Thursday and you're starting the playoffs on Saturday.
That's pretty quick. But I don't think any of the teams that played on Thursday played on Saturday, did they?
No, they didn't. But it's just in terms of, Toronto played their last game on Wednesday. They played on Saturday. So that was 3 days. But just the season ending in terms of the finality of the matchups.
Right.
Just a 48-hour turnaround is
actually, really, honestly, I want the Leafs and Bruins over quickly because there's nothing to this series. So it's like the quicker it goes, the better.
Well, yeah, because it's a foregone conclusion, Russ. You know how it's going to end.
Right.
Toronto's winning tonight.
Okay. All right.
Is this you or the Buzztron saying this?
No, the Buzztron picked Boston in the series. I picked
Toronto. The Buzztron has a virus.
No, but I picked Toronto. But I think that the Toronto, that was a big enough whipping in the first. We've my theory, guys. I've said this.
So now they're gonna just dig deep and they're gonna come.
No. My theory is this: that when a team loses by like 4 or 5 goals in a game, I've shown you this before. I did the numbers out on this. I've done it every year. It's like ridiculous. It's like 85% of the time in the playoffs, the team that loses by 4 or more goals wins the next game in the playoffs. It's just this thing. There's this letdown that happens. And maybe I could see Boston having that letdown tonight.
Well, I'll bet you my hat for your hat
in the series. And I'm not nearly as confident about Toronto winning the series after that game 1, but I am still saying that Toronto could win tonight.
Could.
Okay.
Are you guaranteeing victory or no?
No. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would definitely put one on this one. I would say that there's something to this.
Well, since you were on a show last week, and I know that a lot of stuff happened in terms. Let's get your input on the Arizona to Utah move, because I was dancing a jig when that happened.
The Utah Outlaws.
They trademarked it, but there's nothing official. It seems
like there is that. Talking to people, I don't know. They have to come up with a name very fast, Mike. This is not like a situation where, because they're going to be going to a draft in very few
I
weeks.
lost their best interest, but apparently Pete said, and I forgot this, that with Winnipeg, the guys just wore NHL jerseys.
Yeah,
so
Scheifele, no, it was me that brought up Scheifele.
Oh, yeah.
Scheifele wore an NHL jersey at the draft,
Right.
So they could borrow the Utah Utes jerseys or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to have jerseys by the draft, but I think that, but I do think the reality is I think they will be called the Outlaws. I think it's obviously what had to happen. I don't think it's the end of hockey in Arizona. From talking to people, I think that Arizona is going to get another team quickly.
No, okay.
I don't think it'll be quickly.
Within 5 years, I'll say within 5 years, which is relatively quickly.
It won't be quickly, and it won't be Alex Morello.
Right. I think it'll be after 5 years, after that deal with Marullo was up.
Because if you saw that presser between him and Bettman, I think if Bettman could have stabbed him in the back, yeah.
I did see that press conference, and it was uncomfortable. I agree with that.
Yeah, if he could have stabbed him in the back and gotten away with it, he would have. That's how bad it was. I mean, this guy, they put together a plan here in terms of you've got to reach certain, you got to win the auction, you got to start shovel in the ground at a certain point, you got to have the building built, and then you get back into the league for I think it was $1 billion. Okay, right. If one of those things fails, he's toast. And the talk there's a lot of political resistance to Morello because they think he's that's why
the mayor spoke out, because he's like, I'm not working with you guys.
Right. They think it's a massive shell game. It's a cash grab. It's like, they're trying to make some sort of $1 billion real estate deal and fit a building in there along with it. It's just a joke. I mean,
it's a legitimate concern. I mean,
it is.
I still think they're going back there. I don't think.
I think
they might.
Yeah, I think they'll go back there. But I think if they do go back there, it'll probably be the guy who owns the Phoenix Suns and not Morello, because I think Morello is untrustworthy.
For a minute about the most famous Arizona Coyote to date, Shane Doan, who some fan saved the banner for Shane Doan, his banner from the last move, because apparently it was on the floor of Gila Arena and this guy picked it up. And he handed it to him at Mullet Arena for the last game. He said, Shane, here, this is yours. I saved it. It's like,
that's pretty awesome.
But I mean, it's ridiculous.
Shane Doan is working as an advisor with the Leafs. I wouldn't be surprised if he orchestrates a trade to get his son Josh traded to Toronto to get him out of
I don't know if they can do that.
I know, I'm just kidding, but I mean, I'm glad it's over with for now.
Yeah,
I do think they'll go back there because the NHL wants that big media market, but Morello, is just in a long line of I
don't think they trust anybody.
But it's not over, because the next step now is getting them a franchise, and maybe Houston or some other city, so they could make a lot of money on 2 new teams. So it's going to go to 34. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, it is. I think we're looking at 34 for sure.
Yeah,
maybe 36.
At the end of the show,
it's going to be 40 by the year 2040.
I mean, 36 makes more sense than 34, right? It's like have even divisions.
Yeah, you're stretching it really thin.
If you go to 36, you're back to half the league making the playoffs again too.
Yes, it has to be expanded playoffs, and we know Gary is not in favor of that. But it's going to be part of the new CBA. I'll bet you anything. The part of the new CBA is expanded playoffs.
Right, but that's the problem. Is the old joke used to be more than half the teams. 8 teams didn't make it out of 24?
No. So it was 21 teams. It was 16. So 5 teams didn't make it.
5 teams didn't make it. Right. I mean, you don't want that.
No.
But now you have 80% was too much and 50% is too little. How about 66% or something like that?
Yeah, I guess
the way around that is to change the whole thing around to have 6 divisions or something like that. Something strange, some weird divisional thing where I mean, because you can't go with 4 divisions of what?
6 divisions of 6?
4 divisions of 10 teams or whatever. It's going to be you can't do that. When you get to 40, you can't. I mean, or even 4 of 9 is like ridiculous, right? So 36 would be
It's
4
a
of
lot
9.
of math. That's all.
So we didn't do a pre-show. We were decided we wanted to do a post-show because the induction for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame came out. And then again, they should change the name of this abortion in Cleveland to the Music Hall of Fame, because more than half the acts are not rock and roll performers.
Only rock and roll like it.
Cher,
yeah, that is funny. I mean, I'm not denying that.
But okay, I'm not casting aspersions on Cher as a pop artist, as a musical performer, but
No.
she never did. What was it? Liars, Beggars, and Thieves. That wasn't a rock song. I mean, there's none of A Tribe Called Quest.
Sonny and Cher were kind of rock.
Tramps and Thieves was close to a rock song. Close.
I don't know.
They were pop. That's all they were.
I think rock is just trying to be everything. I think that's what
They are.
Right.
Well, it's not rock. It's really the owner of it. But I would say this, Mike. If Cher wanted to be in a rock band, she could have done it.
Oh yeah, no question about that.
But Russ, she could have, but she wasn't. She was married to a rock performer. She married Greg Allman.
Right.
But so what? I mean, but no. Okay, so you had 8 performers, 8. And of the 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. Half of them were not rock performers. Mary J. Blige,
Right.
Cher,
Right.
Kool and the Gang,
Which is a joke. That was cool.
an absolute joke, and A Tribe Called Quest. Okay.
I don't even know a Tribe Called Quest, so that's
I don't. I know who they are. I don't know much about
I don't
them.
know much about them either.
I'm happy Foreigner's in though, because
Foreigner's the one I'm happiest about, but I even quibble at one of the rock performers. Okay, I loved Frampton Comes Alive. He had one great album.
No, that's true. But here's where I'll give Peter Frampton a pass.
He was in Humble Pie.
Maybe it's 12-year-old me,
Yeah,
because I love Frampton Comes Alive.
Yeah,
but
I did too.
He did a ton of session work on a lot of good albums.
Sure. And
there was a time when rock and roll was like. Did you guys ever see the series Roadies?
No.
Gotta watch that series. It's not on anywhere to stream right now. It's really good. But anyway,
but he did. Okay, he was in Humble Pie. He did a lot of session work. He was on All Things Must Pass, George Harrison's album, and a lot of other. I'm not saying he's a great musician, but he had one album.
No, but rock and roll is not about it. It's also about live shows, and it's like to me, he fits in. If there was a live category,
Yeah.
And to me, there should be no live category. We live in a world now that's all about live shows. Like no one can make money on albums, so it's like very much changing. So you can say great albums, but like Steely Dan, are they a rock band? I don't think they're a rock band.
No.
But
I think they're close.
They're more a jazz band.
They're a jazz rock.
They were a live band. They were not a live band at all.
Not a live band. They only
right, the opposite of that. That's what I'm saying. So they
were actually bad live. They
weren't bad. No, I saw them live.
They were a studio creation, and
but they were good live. I don't want to hear it.
I've seen them live a couple times. I didn't think they were.
But they're not rock and roll to me. So to me, I'll give I'm not a Leonard Skinner fan at all. But they're the epitome of a live rock band.
Southern rock.
They're live rock, and that to me is the other thing. So they're to me, Frampton definitely is part of that.
Well, I'm just saying it's like to be consistent. It's like if you're talking about like a breadth of work. I mean, like Foreigner. I mean, they had 5, 6 multi-platinum albums. They were.
But I'm telling you, Styx. I get fought every time. People only look at Styx for their pop songs, and they have plenty of them, like Blue Collar Man, like Renegade. They have plenty of songs like that.
Yeah, but they were in the Foreigner of pop rock thing. They're the same world,
Their early albums were quasi progressive. They were considered. Styx, Supertramp, and then this.
I think I probably would put Supertramp in.
Yeah, I mean they're.
I would definitely put Supertramp in. I would.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking. Hey, Dave Matthews Band is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before Supertramp.
I mean, that stuff is nonsense.
I mean, it's like
they're also the live thing. They're the live tradition too, though. That's what they are about to do.
They're a big live touring band. No,
Esmir says no Iron Maiden. I agree. Jethro Tull. No Jethro.
no. Iron Maiden should be in. I did see them, and they've endured. Like I even remember when I was 17, going way back to then, where there was an Iron Maiden painted denim jacket. Some kid had it in my school.
Yeah,
and like so they've been around, man.
On their folders, on their everybody's drawing Iron Man. Ozzy, okay, Ozzy made it. I have no problem with that. But yeah, like King Crimson not in.
No, Crimson should get in, but I think it's just because of a fight.
there's also a lot of people that don't think prog music is rock and roll.
I know, well, that they're idiots because
that's not necessarily true. I mean, that's an opinion, right?
It's more rock and roll than hip hop.
Yeah,
is it? I mean,
yes.
Prog rock isn't like rock. Rock and roll is blues progression driven. If you want to go back to the basic of what rock is, actually, it's like blues chords. It's not. It's 4/4 songs. It's not like 6/11 songs and key signatures.
When you're talking,
they're 3.5-minute songs, not 20-minute songs. It's
when you're talking the width and breadth of music and popular music that they seem to be letting in.
Who cares? All right, that brings up a point. Now I want to challenge it. Who cares if a rock song is 20 minutes or 3 minutes?
I don't care.
It shouldn't matter.
I don't care, but there are people out there who do, and there are people out there who think that
they're morons.
They're not. They're no more morons than you saying Frampton's not a like that. To me, is like it's.
Okay. I like I said, I loved Frampton Comes Alive. I think he's a great guitar player.
Dave Matthews is definitely a rock, definitely band. Dave
Matthews. I said that my point with Dave Matthews is that he was.
It's just early. It's early.
Yeah, it's early.
That's all.
It's very early, and you have bands from the 60s and 70s and 80s that should be in, and also
Foreigner's getting in. This is their last tour,
right?
Like Lou Graham just said, "I'm done."
I also love the fact that like there are certain individual performers who like, okay, Peter Gabriel is in as a member of Genesis and he's in as a solo artist. Right. Clapton is in with the Yardbirds, he's in with Cream, and he's in as a solo artist. So
he should be in 15 times over.
Right. So, but Phil Collins is not in. He was the next to Michael Jackson sold the most albums in the 80s and 90s, and
yeah,
he's not.
Fair point.
Yeah. I don't think is album sales. If album sales is about rock and roll, then King Crimson definitely shouldn't be in.
No,
I don't know. I think they still sold a lot.
It's album sales,
not a lot comparably.
In the Court of the Crimson King it's also influence, Zach. You can't.
I agree with you on that, but that's the problem with this. It's like it's how wide of a net you're willing to throw here. It's all.
But the problem here is that this is a product of Jan Wenner hating progressive rock. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
If you look at the Rolling Stone record guide, he slags Genesis.
He doesn't like progressive rock. I agree.
But he loves Springsteen and friggin' the Grateful Dead and Lovin' Spoonful.
See, to me, they're all the bands you're mentioning. They're all rock bands. They're just all rock bands because they're all like either had like they had driving songs, they had the really good live performances. They're all rock bands. I mean, but a lot of people there's a much better argument to be made that Yes is not a rock and roll band than there is Springsteen's not a rock and roll band. Now, and I like Yes more than Springsteen, but I'm just saying if you want to go down to rock and roll to me, Springsteen is really a rock and roll band. There's no two ways about it.
No, I mean that's old time rock and roll compared to like rock fusion, which is what it turned into. So at that time, it turned into that for like a decade, and then it changed again. So I think they're both.
Now we have to finish the show with this, Zach, because now that the season is over with, we have to finish with the NHL Draft Lottery Simulator.
Right.
Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
No whammies, man.
The Chicago Blackhawks. Oh boy. Now, okay, if that happens,
where was Philly?
Philly was 12th.
12. That's where they're going to end up, by the way.
Yeah.
The Flyers fans, they're in 12. That's where
it was. Chicago, Columbus, San Jose. If it finishes like that, after the embarrassment that the Blackhawks with everything that happened, and then they win Bedard and Celebrini, it will be a worse reaction that after Pittsburgh won Crosby after they had Lemieux.
Yeah, it's the Penguins 2.0. Yeah, I mean, it was Crosby and Crosby and Yager, and then you've got Malkin and Lemieux and Yager, Malkin, Crosby, Taves, Kane.
This is again, like I told Mike, this is like McDavid RNH. Then that's exactly what it will be, because Celebrini's not Bedard, but he's really good. He's a hell of a player. He's more Taves-like, and so you got him. So
I think it's Kane Taves very much so. It's very much Kane Taves, and that's what
it's.
And we can talk about this on future shows.
That happens, man, boy.
Oh yeah, it's chaos. It's absolute chaos. But we'll talk about this on future shows. But the fact that Mike Greer came out, I think it was yesterday, and said that David Quinn is not safe, and Ron Francis came out and said, we're reviewing Dave Hackstall.
Yeah.
Russ, we could conceivably have about 9 coaching vacancies.
They're just saying that so they see who shakes loose. And if no one shakes loose, they bring their guy back. I think that's all they're doing. I had a bigger thing though. I noticed that the NBA has not yet signed with ESPN, and that's because Amazon and NBC are putting in a huge bid. And it would be interesting if ESPN were to lose the NBA, the NHL would be their biggest contract, them or MLB. But that would be their biggest thing because it goes through 27, 28.
Well, they still have the NFL, but that's
No, they don't have ESPN doesn't have NFL games on. What do they have?
They do on Sunday nights.
On Sunday night, right? They have one game a week.
Or Monday night. Sorry,
yes, one game a week. You're right.
But you can't. That's not a lot.
That's not that much. The NHL is giving them 400 games a month, right? Whatever. So, But the point is, they would. You kind of wonder how that relationship would go then if they all of a sudden lost the NBA, and I would have to think the NHL would move up a peg with them, but I don't know, maybe not.
I think so too. I think they have to. I agree with that. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll talk to you tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but we'll talk to you soon.
Wednesday.
We'll say Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll say Wednesday.
To talk about the Leafs win. We'll talk to you then.